welcome to Gaming the System, where four intersectional feminists look at gaming through a feminist lens. Today we are going to be talking about guilty pleasures and the sort of games that we love playing, even though we know they are horribly unfeminist, unpolitically correct, and probably not good for us in many possible ways. But first, before we get to that, it's time for us to ask, what games have you been playing this week? So, team, who wants to go first? Who's got a game they've been playing this week? And by this week, I mean this month, because let's not try and pretend we're not recording these once a month. What games have you been playing in the last 4 weeks?
I've been playing so much Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've had quite one of the best weeks I've had in a very long time, where I've just been playing hour after hour after hour of it. It's one of the biggest games, the longest games I've ever played. It's endless collectibles. Alex, you will love it. It's just there are too many collectibles to count. It's impossible. And it's exactly the kind of game that I needed right now. It wouldn't. There would be other times where it wouldn't be good for me, but right now it is the perfect game. I'm probably about 80 hours in at the minute.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm trying. I will try and get into an Assassin's Creed game, but I still really struggle with really structured story games. And I don't know. It just is not quite me. But anyway, Alex, what have you been playing?
So you've already heard, if you heard the last episode, I have started playing Ratchet and Clank this week. But before that, it's all about PS Plus basically at the moment. I did all of Concrete Genie, which is really fun, and I platinumed it. So I got another 50 plus trophies. I was like, oh, that'll do me. But no, that's another one of those games where it's just quite genteel, and then there's a slight twist where it becomes slightly less genteel, but it's still very forgiving. So you can it's about painting essentially, but cool neon graffiti in this really tired, grubby town, and you kind of bring it back to life, and it's all about making it less about an oil spill and more about lots of nice colour and happiness, etc., etc. It is bordering on twee, but it's still good. I quite enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, because we got it through the whichever PlayStation package it is. I have no idea what PlayStation package we have anymore. But yes, so no. And when my other half downloaded it, he said, "Oh, that looks like something you'll like, Caroline." So yeah, Concrete Genie is on the list. Not Alex. Sorry, that. Suddenly, people's names aren't written on the screen, and I can't get our names right. Jem, what are you playing? I can't hear you, Jem.
You muted yourself.
I haven't muted myself.
It's just difficult. Doesn't like to let Jem speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I am going to speak now. I have been playing Guild Wars 2 multiplayer game. I had a false start a few weeks ago where I think I said I was going to play World of Warcraft, decided that was a ridiculous idea, and moved over to Guild Wars 2. Yeah, it's been quite fun actually. I quite like the fact that you can just dip in and dip out. I'm also playing Dragon Age, which is Inquisition, which is a much more involved game. And I go on and I'm like, I've got half an hour to game because that's my life now. And then I'm like, and in that half an hour, I managed to move some stuff around in my inventory.
So true.
Yeah, so Guild Wars is quite nice because you can just dip in and then dip out again, and I do feel a bit like, oh my god, I need to save, and you can't save, and I die quite a lot because I'm never ever thinking about I'm so what's going on? I'm like an old person gaming now. It's really bad. But anyway, but also I've been playing it with I talked about this in the last one, and I'm playing it with my other half. But we're basically not playing together because we're not very good at doing that. So we're just doing off in our different places in the world. And and occasionally chatting. So but it's been really fun actually, just to do that, and I think we're competing a little bit because he's going ahead and I'm like, hey, that's not fair, I need to catch up. So there's a little bit of that going on, but it's all good fun.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because so I've been playing a new game. I've been playing Valheim, which if you look it up on Steam, it's early access.
I've seen the ads, yeah.
It won't surprise you to know that it's a survival open world game where you craft buildings and try and because that's all I ever play basically. But it's the new one on the whole spectrum, and yeah, they've got like 5 million people playing it since they released about 6 weeks, probably by the time this goes out, like 10 weeks ago. But it's really, really, I'm loving it. My other half not so much. So we're doing similarly, playing separately, but like both figuring it out. And I played it all yesterday and was learning my way through, and I was dying constantly. I was just like, I managed to find a huge pack of skeletons that kept killing me. Couldn't figure out how to craft a club at that stage. Hadn't figured out how to get a save point down. And I was just running around. But I was loving it. I was really enjoying it. Came down earlier today. He's sitting there. Blasted skeletons! Why? This is horrible. They just keep killing me. Because he hadn't died for 10 days and then suddenly the skeletons killed him. So it's interesting. To me, that's the fun bit of the game, but apparently not for everybody always, all the time. But anyway, such is life. So yes, Valheim is my new Rust at the moment, but we'll see how long that lasts before I actually go back.
Is it multiplayer?
It is, so you can play it multiplayer, you can play it on your own, you can also play it on servers like you do with Rust and 7 Days to Die, and my brother has been nagging us to play it for the last 3 weeks because he wanted to buy a Valheim server and have us all come and play on it, and I am not going to do that until I've figured out how to not die every 5 seconds. But it's very satisfying killing boars. There's lots of boars, you've got to kill the boars to survive, to get your food. I love that sort of stuff. And I have one feminist point to make about Valheim. Character selection screen. It's a long time since I've actually done like a, when you design your character at the beginning. And so I'd set it to female and I'd done my hair and my stuff. And then there was an option for beards, facial hair. And it zeroes it out if you're female. Maybe I want to be a female Viking with a beard. Why can't I have facial hair as a female Viking? So that's my only criticism of that right now. So
not bad as criticisms go. That's the only one.
I mean, you can't adjust the boob size. It seems not over the top. I wouldn't say it was, but as female characters in games go, the boob size is relatively normal, which is a lovely segue into today's topic, which is guilty pleasures. The games we play, which are probably inappropriate, probably not okay, but does that okay? And can we play am I allowed to go back and play GTA 3? Is that alright? Because I really want to do a replay through that. I'm hoping that this podcast will tell me by the end of it if it's okay for me to do that. That's basically why I'm here, guys. I'm not really going to host, you're just here to solve that problem for me. So, top of the list, Alex, do you have, because Alex, I have to say, from your gaming history and the sort of person you are, that as I've got to know you over the last few weeks, I can't imagine you playing a guilty pleasure of a game. Maybe other than like Tomb Raider, which isn't a guilty pleasure, if that's where you're going.
It was a very difficult question. I struggled for a long time to come up with an answer. As a slight segue, I will answer the question, but I'm just going to say, in terms of the phrase guilty pleasure, I don't think anything that you enjoy doing you should feel guilty about. I think that's a thing, that's a hang up for me. In the same way that people say that eating chocolate is their guilty pleasure, like eat what you want, you shouldn't have to worry about what people think about you eating chocolate. So that's my little rant over. Anyway, in answer to the question, I'm going to go way back into my childhood and say, and it was actually in an article that you referenced, Caroline, you put it on our Twitter earlier today, and it's about the Barbie Games of the mid-90s. The first one I think I played was Barbie Fashion Designer, where you could design all their clothes and stuff and then print them out for your Barbies to wear. And then I think it was a way of gaming with my sister, because she was more into Barbies than I was. She had more Barbies than I ever did, because I was less into the physical Barbie and more into the virtual Barbie in the game world. And then it kind of evolved into Barbie Detective, which was an amazing set of games, and then Barbie Explorer, which was like their rip-off of Tomb Raider, which was hilarious as well. But it was definitely one of the few games I remember actually playing with my sister, and we did it together, that kind of thing, because she's less into gaming than I am. So it was one way that we could bond growing up together, because she's 4 years younger than me. So that was quite nice. But in the way of it being a guilty pleasure, going back to the actually answering the question, I think it was a game that was designed for girls to play, and it was all in pink packaging and like all that sort of thing. So whether I should be enjoying something that was designed from the perspective of men for girls to play, is that okay? Probably. Is it something that should be being made today? Probably not. But that was my answer to the question, I would say.
I suddenly have worried that I didn't ask Matt what he's been playing this month.
Oh, I started off.
You did? Okay,
Yeah, you
that's
did.
all right.
Yeah.
No, I just suddenly wanted to check I hadn't left you out because, I have got to the point of fairness now where I'm actually keeping a tally of who's speaking and when. I'm conscious of not speaking. But anyway, but Matt, now that it is clearly I haven't let you speak enough yet, what's your guilty... What's the first thing that sprung to mind as your guilty pleasure game?
Well, first thing you said, is it okay if you play GTA 3? Yes. Play anything you want. Do anything you want in gaming, because that's the place to do it. The myth about video games causing violence is utter bullshit. It's a place where you can go, and as long as you're self-aware, you can do whatever you like in gaming and enjoy it as much as you like, so you shouldn't worry about anything that you do in games. That being said, the thing, it's not so much games themselves that I thought of in terms of guilty pleasure. It's the way that I interact with games. So my main thing is I love to hate and have massive contempt for certain games and the people who play them. For example, my ire towards the Xbox, people who play Xbox. That is something that is... I feel a great warmth and joy when I express that. But it's not so much, I'm not doing it in order to tear anyone down or to hurt anyone. It's just something that I have for myself, that I really like to be aggressively, ridiculously, unfairly contemptible about things like. So when Assassin's Creed Odyssey first came out, I absolutely loathed it. I wrote an article about all the ways in which it is a poor, pathetic copy of lots of other different kinds of games mashed together. And it's that kind of joyful, like, contempt for things is something that I used to not be proud of and feel guilty about it. But it's just a part of me, and I don't do it to hurt anyone. But I think that's as close to as I get to feeling like it's just something that I wouldn't share with anyone to hurt anyone, of course.
Fair enough. No, yeah, I absolutely take the points about... I mean, guilty pleasure is a horrible phrase. It is a ridiculous bullshit phrase. My favourite... This, by the way, because my Venn diagrams of my interests don't overlap very well, so nobody's going to get this, but the fact that Stephen Fry describes Georgette Heyer novels as his guilty pleasure is something that provides me great amusement, but none of you are going to get that reference, so it's absolutely fine. We'll move on briefly, but I wanted to say that. Anyway, Jen, what sprung to mind as yours when you were trying to think of this horrible phrase?
I don't think I play any games that I would put into this category. I'm sure I do, but I can't think of any right now. But I think probably my guilty pleasure, I agree with the comments that everyone's made, but would be that I always like to play attractive characters, and I've tried really, really hard actually to be like, you know, evil and ugly and, you know, all of the stuff. Like because I'm quite interested in role playing, and I have tried to do that, and the closest I came was a little tiny gnome that I played in World of Warcraft, who I had lots of fun with. But I mean, you know, gnomes are cute. They're not ugly. They're just cute and quirky. So for me, when I play most games, I want to look cool. I want to look good. And I do choose my armor based on how good I look in it. And if that means that I'm running around in a skimpy bikini, then sometimes I will do that. Usually with my feminist self shouting in my
inside
ear.
it. Yeah, good.
You know, but you know, I think it's I always say, you know, I want to look good from behind. when I'm watching my character running along, I want them to look good. I want their hair to look good, and I want their butt to look good. I'm sorry. And, you know, so yeah, that's my guilty pleasure. I want to look good in my games, and I want to be good, and I want to be the hero.
No, because that was like, I was like, do I do that? And I think it's one of those things that it used to really annoy me, the limitations of the customizations of female characters in games, for that exact reason. That, like, I mean, there's you know, you get all the memes about, like, somebody spending an hour on their character customization and not actually playing the game and stuff like that, which he doesn't like me mentioning it, but my other half's very guilty of that as well. Anyway, and I was always a bit like, oh God, why do boys spend so much time doing this? And of course, because they have the options, because they have so many better options to customize it. Whereas with the female characters, it is usually like, can I make my boobs bigger? Or bigger, or like just normal human size? Can I have a ponytail, or can I have my hair down? And that's about it. It's like, and it is something that annoys. Also, though, I did see on Gamer Girls the other day that the pink tax is real. They were looking at something like Animal Crossing or something, where the actual customization things, it was more expensive to get the pink option of the sunglasses and things, stuff like that. And it's the fact that the pink tax has made it into gaming things as well. Deeply upsetting. So I suppose for me, when we said guilty pleasures, like, and this is possibly more indicative of me than anything. So as we know, I like to play things like Rust and 7 Days to Die, which I feel guilty about constantly anyway, because they are not feminist environments. And I think the thing is that 7 Days to Die makes me feel worse about it than Rust. Because Rust, yeah, there's a toxic community, but you can make the game what it is, and it is what you make of it, and it is where you play it. Whereas 7 Days to Die, where one of the lead developers is a guy called Joel Hunick, who's on Twitter and spends a lot of time posting about how many squats he does. And he posts a lot on a subreddit called Brogress about his muscle development. I think you get the idea there. And, you know, the company name of the developers is the Fun Pimps, which, like, let's not even get into that. Every female zombie who's in the game that you kill, there's a stripper zombie who's just literally a naked woman's body covered in paint. There is a nurse zombie. Obviously, there is a cheerleader. It is every bad feminist trope. And I love the game for the structure it is and the stuff that is, but it genuinely breaks my immersion all the time. I find myself going, what would my friends in the Women's Equality Party think if they were sitting behind my shoulder right now and watched me doing this? How would they feel about the fact that I am just running around shooting stripper zombies, nurses who look like strippers, frankly, and, you know, various other things like that. And I've complained about Trader Jen before, who they, you know, spent a year developing the game to make her boobs bigger. And all this sort of stuff about it, it really drives me nuts, but I still play the game. And I suppose for me, that's where the guilty pleasures came in, as I was like, is it enough to make me stop playing a game? Am I going to boycott them? No, I'm going to harass Joel on Twitter, which I do quite often. But it's, it's like, what... For me, that's where the guilty pleasures was. Is a game that you feel like you wouldn't want your friends to see you playing. I don't know. Does anyone else have a game they wouldn't want their friends to see them playing?
Can I just make a quick... in terms of the... I suppose this does... You can edit out that pause, can't you? So, talking of...
comedic sake, but yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of games that are problematic because of the people who make them. Because one thing that I've been thinking about recently and has been a very, very interesting topic in terms of this is there's a brand new Harry Potter game coming out next year. And now obviously J.K. Rowling has come out as being extremely transphobic, which is devastating because Harry Potter was a pillar of my childhood. And this game looks like it's going to be incredible. I've always wanted to play a massive Harry Potter RPG. So I don't know. I'd be really interested to see what you three think about it because I don't know where to settle on the matter.
And then there's the added layer now of we've discovered one of the senior developers on the game is one of the guys who was one of the biggest Gamergate harassers and who made YouTube videos basically saying horrific things about female journalists and stuff. And yeah, it's like, stop messing with Harry Potter for me, please. This is like such a a thing I love, and I am completely with you, Matt. I feel that there is a statement to be made and there are things to be done, and does that mean that I should never play the game? But does it? It's what it makes me angry with, and do you know what? I know what Gem's going to say, so I'm going to let Gem say why I'm angry. Do you know why I'm angry, Gem? Oh no, Gem's sound. It's Discord's messing with you again, Gem.
Hear me? Okay. I can tell you that they are having trans characters in the game. They have said that
good.
Today. That flashed up on my news today. So, no.
But no,
so I didn't know what you wanted. What you were.
I was
going to say.
That these huge corporations, and I was angry about this when we go back to when they made the game, what are they called? The films, the prequel films, the
Fantastic Beasts.
Where to find them.
No.
The fact that they cast Johnny Depp. And the fact that Warner Brothers went, and everyone was like, but hang on, and I believe I can say this now because, somebody won a court case saying that it wasn't libelous to say that Johnny Depp may have abused his ex-wife, Amber Heard.
Yeah.
And it's, but yet a huge corporation went, all the actors in the world, let's choose that person. And it's the same reason I'm angry with that gaming company, is that they've gone, all the games developers in the world, let's choose somebody who is one of the prominent voices in Gamergate. It's like, you don't need to. Like, there's better options out there. Anyway, sorry, anger. Alex, you were going to say something there.
I'm in a very similar boat to, I think, most people, Matt particularly. Harry Potter's a massive part of my childhood, and I really want to play this game. But, yeah, does that mean, am I going to be able to put aside my feelings about what we're talking about with the developer, and obviously J.K. Rowling's views on certain things? Am I going to be able to put those aside and be able to enjoy the game? I hope that I can, because it is a massive part of my life, but also it does, in a sense, tarnish it in a way. But hopefully we can look at it objectively, because I think I raised in the WhatsApp chat that it's not just that one person that's working on the game, it's a whole bunch of other people who have a whole bunch of other life experiences, and hopefully, but in buying the game we can support them and their views.
And there's also, sorry, carry on.
No, that's all. Okay.
There's also the conversation around the difference between the artist and the art.
Yes.
Because I guarantee that there are well, you look back through the last 100 years, for example, all the art that's been produced, I guarantee that a huge portion of it was made by horrifying racists and misogynistic monsters. You know how Harvey Weinstein and his behavior and how that permeates the entire industry. So it's still difficult to know. So there people can choose where their line can be drawn, but it's important to remember that you can enjoy art and be very critical of the artist, and I think that's an important thing to bring
that
up.
Came up recently. There's a friend of mine who's not into Harry Potter because, I mean, obviously I probably shouldn't be because I'm too old, but I don't care, and who doesn't have any particular attachment to anybody who's sort of from Me Too scandals and stuff, but is a humongous fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the general Whedon universe. And then, of course, I can see Gems going, I know, and Joss Whedon has not come out of the last few weeks well, and I frankly, honestly, like, I think having gone back and rewatched some things, like some more obscure Joss Whedon stuff like Dollhouse in the last few years, I mean, rewatching Dollhouse, I was just like, wow, this is an incel's wet dream. Every single thing of it. It's for those of you who aren't familiar with Dollhouse, the plot is that some people volunteer to basically have their minds wiped, and they become dolls that people can rent for the day or the night and have any personality or any sort of skills uploaded to them. And yes, the face that, you know, Alex is pulling right now is pretty much, somebody should have said that in the production meeting. But it was, you know, written and done by Joss Whedon. And it's like, Joss Whedon has been clearly getting more and more problematic for a while. His ex-wife said some stuff about 3 years ago, making it clear that he's problematic. But my friend was saying to me, she was like, I didn't mind when I didn't care that we had to ditch Harry Potter. I didn't care that we had to ditch Miramax films, but like, I don't want to ditch Buffy. Buffy's really important to me. And it's like, as you say, Matt, it's that, like, can you enjoy the art without the artist? And Jem, you're the right generation. How do you feel about Joss Whedon while we're here?
I think clearly Joss Whedon is a bit of an arse, but you know, that doesn't make the Buffy series a bit of an arse. You know, that was awesome. I watched it obsessively. I loved that series, and I wish it was still on. And it, you know, really, really informed my life. I've just recently introduced my daughter to Pirates of the Caribbean, and so we had a big conversation about this, about whether or not that was appropriate. I properly loved Johnny Depp. Like, I actually loved that man. It was never going to happen. But I even had like an arrangement with my ex-husband that if Johnny Depp ever came along, you know, that was it. I was like, and it was like a long-standing thing. So, you know, and I was gutted to hear, you know, about him and all of what he'd done, and, you know, the abuse that he has supposedly, so I think we can say he has, subjected Amber and who else to, you know. But I think it's... But the films are really good, and the character is really good, and, you know, introducing my daughter to that world has been a really positive and fun experience for her. And she did say, you know, his eyes, and I was like, I know. And I said, but he's a really not very nice person, and we don't like the actor, but we love the character. But actually what it did was it opened up the opportunity to have that conversation with her about that, you know, there are plenty of people out there who look lovely and act nice but are not, and that, you know, people are not necessarily what they seem, and men with power can often abuse it, and you know, and I'm sorry to say often, but the evidence does point to often. So, you know, I think you can take these situations and these scenarios and you can say, you know, Buffy was an awesome series, and maybe just got above himself. Maybe he thought he was better than he was. Maybe he thought that because he did this amazing feminist series that let him behave the way he did. And I think, you know, it's an opportunity to open up those conversations, and it's an opportunity to talk about these things, I think, and that's the way I would like to see it. I don't want to give up all of this stuff.
I hate that thing of the phenomenon of people like Joss Whedon and especially Zack Snyder. I hate Zack Snyder who they believe that they are the thin end of the wedge in making powerful, strong women, and that they think they're the best at it because they're told they're the best at it by their bubble of people. And in fact, what Zack Snyder does all the time, except with Wonder Woman, is a woman is strong because she was raped and she overcame that rape, and now she's strong. And he thinks, "Oh, I'm the best," because his mate's telling him he's the best.
Well, in the original movie version of Buffy that was before the TV series, so like if going back really old here, the way she could tell was when a vampire, and this was done by Joss Whedon and written and produced by him, the way she could tell when a vampire was nearby was because she got menstrual cramps, which I think says a lot.
They decided to remove that from the series.
It often worked that as well as testing. Anyway, I mean, this is all equally applicable to the game world, because especially because so much of this stuff ends up in the game world from the TV world. I can't tell if Alex was trying to nod at me.
I was just trying to say. I want to say, I think we can consume culture and our games in an informed way, and as long as we come to an understanding with ourselves, we shouldn't have a go at other people or pile on other people for watching or playing something that we choose not to play, or we can decide to play it, but we shouldn't feel under pressure from other people not to play it if we want to play it. Is the kind of point that I was trying to make, is that we should respect people's individual decisions, but as long as we're all informed and aware, and then that's the most important thing. I don't know if anyone agrees, but
no,
that's kind of
what I was going to say is that I think that is the key thing. There's a difference between people still wanting to watch and play something and giving awards to and praising things. So like when people, it's like, I don't want to see certain TV shows, films, video games in the top 20 of all time video games because of various tainted reasons. But I don't think this means that people have to delete it from the back catalogues or have to no longer have access to it. I just think it's about there are plenty of other things to praise without having to praise people who are problematic. I mean, I just did three, just to bring my own social media into it, but, I did this A to Z of people from LGBT history, and there's a lot of people who are very problematic in LGBT history. I was looking at the letter Q and going, right, who am I? Quentin Crisp, obviously, is the top person who springs to mind, but he's somebody who said he didn't support gay rights and gay marriage, even though he was a gay man, and so I went to the effort of finding some different people whose names began with Q to write about instead of him. And again, it's about that sort of, if you are praising people, holding people up, then you choose the people who aren't problematic. But day to day, enjoy what you like.
But if you buy a game or you play a game that is problematic, my concern is that you are supporting it. And so with the Harry Potter game, for example, I absolutely take everything that everyone said, and I've made my own points about, not wanting to give up things despite the bad behaviour of people involved in it. But on the other hand, I think that, if we don't vote with our pockets, then are these people ever going to listen? These people are still going to be given these rights. These games are still going to include rape scenes and beating up women as like a fun thing, something that you can do as an aside. It's really hard, I think, as a consumer, to know quite how to best influence what's going on and what we're seeing, and to encourage the positive stuff that we want to see more of and discourage the negative stuff without, sorry, my earphone just fell down my top. That's good.
Sorry, we can hear you, you can't hear us, but it's fine.
You're exactly right in that. I think particularly because gaming is, there are so many young people of the new generation coming up through, and the younger generation are far more, they are so much more informed in social issues like LGBT stuff. They're gonna despise a lot of these terrible things that have been so prevalent for so long. And something like Twitch, for example, Twitch was an actual partner of the gaming awards, the GAY-ming awards that were last week. So, and Twitch has a massive commitment to that, and Twitch is where the vast majority of young people are going to watch streaming and to stream themselves. So they're going to learn from that, and then they're going to make so much noise, which is what's happening now with all the JK Rowling stuff in this game. That's partially why they've put this the ability to be trans in it, and they're going to get more and more pressure. And as big corporations, they go where the money is, and the money is going to go to more people who are more intersectional. So even though it might be for it's not just moral reasons, I hope it's going to go in the right direction.
I'm gonna, just because we're pausing, I'm doing we did a whole 20 minutes there on that.
Yeah.
So you said a little while back about it being an incel's wet dream. And I think that's a perfect way to describe it, because I've been thinking of it as it's either what men want to be or what men want to see. So men want to be a big, strong, masculine man, and they want to see naked women and sex scenes. And it's like a 15-year-old boy has made every single game and every single film for most of history.
I do sometimes wonder, though, do men want to see that? I mean, I can't say, nobody can speak for all men, and not all men are the same, but, I think that sometimes some of the, because obviously I think Gem and I, you and I would say we're of the generation where people grew up gaming and then have carried on gaming. So I know a lot of men who are in their 40s who game, and, they feel genuinely quite uncomfortable with some of these things now, even if they're not particularly feminist. They're like, oh, God, another bathhouse scene. I mean, what was it? I think there was a game that he was playing where, like, genuinely that was the mechanism to get your health back. You had to go to the bathhouse and be tended by a wench in order to restore your healf. And it's just like, I'm just like looking over and I'm like, oh, being tended by a wench again, are we? Eh? And it's just like, I know, it's embarrassing. It's just like, I don't think necessarily there is. I think there is a perception amongst some people at the top of this is what gamers want. But actually, I think that some of the most successful games, some of the groundbreaking games, the games we talk about here, are ones that don't apply to that lowest common denominator. Or to 15-year-old boys, as you say. Maybe that's the guilty pleasure. Actually, we'd like a game that isn't. Maybe so. That what I am segueing here. I like to highlight my segues, just to be clear that what I'm doing. But I think the thing is that tipping the guilty pleasure on its head is the guilty pleasure sometimes a game that's not a complex game. That's not a clever game, that's not so when I say to you, guys, what games have you been playing this week? I mean, come on, somebody has got to have been playing. I play a lot of Homescapes on my phone, which is a terrible, terrible phone matching game. And they have released a new game from the same people called Mirror something, where I have to do spot the difference in pictures. And I'm like, to me, that is a guilty pleasure game, because I don't want to admit that as a proper gamer that I've spent the last few days looking at a scene of a garden going, where's the cat? Where's the bloody cat? So, are there? Do we have any guilty pleasure games that are guilty pleasure games because they're not proper gamer games? Jem,
I'm going to share. Yeah, I'm going to share. This is what I have been playing this week. Can you see it?
I'm seeing a silhouette of people. Oh, Project Makeover.
Do you know what? It was advertised to me so much. This is the person I'm making over at the moment. It was advertised to me so much on everything, and I kept saying to my husband, "Shall I get it? I really want to get it. I really want to see," because I was really offended by all the sexist. Because it was like it's lots of the adverts are lots of people being made up to look rubbish and then getting really angry and throwing things at the camera and stuff. And I was really like, oh, but it's like all these girls and they're like trying to get the hot guy and they're like, they're not wearing the right clothes, or they've got they're really smelly or something. It was or really hairy, or all sorts of stuff that was like, oh, the horror. And I was really like, this is disgusting. This. And I said, I really didn't want to get it because I want to see what it's like. And so I downloaded it, and it isn't like that at all. Actually, I haven't come across anything like that. It's like a proper makeover thing, and the first one was actually to make over. The second one was to make over a guy who was a mechanic. You had to give him a trim on his beard and stuff. But actually, 90% of the game is balloon matching, so you're just matching up colours, and you have to that's all it is. And I really like that aspect of it, but I do also really like making their little houses look nice and tidying up their hair and giving them a facial. Yeah, I am really enjoying it, and it is. And I would not have, when you say what games have you been playing this week? Not that. That's my secret. But I mean, it's like Merge Dragons for me. I'll lose interest in it in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's problematic game because it's reinforcing very patriarchal stereotypes and all sorts of things. So,
but you're loving it, Alex. You got any games that are embarrassing in that way?
I suppose not that I can think of recently. I'll probably go back to Barbie as my earlier example. It's a very similar thing. I just spent time picking out their clothes and the swimwear and the different styles of clothes for different times of day. And then they did a little fashion show, and it was you could take pictures and everything. Just silly things like that are actually quite fun. But yeah. Sorry, you're in the middle of eating.
You can see I've just put hula hoops in my mouth.
Matt, talk, go.
Oh, I like to romance everyone. I like to go back through and play a game entirely all the way through just so I can romance different people. The one I've done that most with is Dragon Age Inquisition. I've romanced everyone, completed all the romance things. And just I enjoy the courting.
Have you, Matt? Have you ever played the old Dragon Ages, or have you only ever played Inquisition?
Yeah, I've played the other ones.
Ah, okay, yeah. Because I was going to say the romancing leads to some more interesting storylines. I feel in the old.
Yeah, they're the best. And hallelujah, they were going to be making the Dragon Age 4 into a fucking live. Massive multiplayer thing. Which what the fuck are they thinking? They made Anthem, and it was a disaster, and they were thinking of doing that again. But now, thank God, thanks to games like The Last of Us Part 2 and Horizon Zero Dawn, they're going, oh, maybe we should carry on with the single player experience that we've done before, which has been utter magic, transcendent magic. Maybe we should carry on with that rather than doing a bullshit Anthem thing with something that is one of the best story-based, multiple, option thing doing ever. And thank God they've decided to do that. Thank God.
Yeah, games marketing is because this combines everything we've talked about this show and last show, though, in terms of DLC, in terms of games trying to exploit money from people, in terms of loot boxing, but also the importance of us voting with our pockets and stuff like that, is how do we ensure games companies make games that we want to play, games that we want to see other people playing. And you're absolutely right. It's some of the things that have been done have usually been done on a cynical, well, that'll make a whole load of money. I mean, you look at what's going on with Hearthstone at the moment, and it's just the most cynical money-making stuff that's going on in the world. And it's about, well, then do we boycott it? Do we say, right, well, we're not going to give you your money until you... I mean, I think the solution is that funnily enough, we get more women and minorities into making games, and I think this is one of the reasons we need to change the industry. But I don't know, other people's thoughts?
I agree that it's that's why part of the problem is when I was saying it's an incel's wet dream. You have someone saying, well, this is what I want to play, and I assume that this is what everyone else wants to play, and no one around me is saying that is disagreeing with me because everyone around here looks like me. and thinks like me, then that's why we get all the kinds of different media that we get at TV shows, movies, games, etc. It's because everyone is the same, making the same thing. Whereas if you get a diverse group of people making games, which is the way it needs to be with everything, because that's how you get things that actually apply to the most amount of people, and you can make transcendent things when you have diversity bringing the best people in, truly. Then they'll say, oh, maybe we should do this game about a woman who gets raped and then is dancing around in a bikini, having sex with everyone when they meet. And then someone else in the room is going to look at them and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Are you mad? And then that's where you can learn. You can go, oh, actually, yeah, why do I think I want that? Why is that a bit of a problem? It's okay to have thoughts and feelings. You can think and feel whatever you want. You'd be your authentic self. But then you need to bounce it around and learn about it, and then that's how you grow. That's why diversity is the best. Of
the design for a floor that had a mirror on the floor. And clearly there'd not been any women in the room who said nobody's going to want to walk along there wearing a skirt. We are now approaching wildcard time.
Wild curtain time.
Draw
back the wild curtain.
I feel like I need to get a name for this bit. It's the Caroline lets people say things they haven't had a chance to say yet in this show bit. Need to catch your time.
There will be a gaming thing. The Easter egg. Or something.
It's not a bad idea. But yeah, so has anyone got a quick, so it's like a countdown timer of quick, where are these?
You shared today, I think, that adult women are now the largest demographic in gaming, and I think we should acknowledge that. And I think that it links into what Matt was saying about, we need to start wising up about who we're designing the games for, because
there was this caveat with the article in that it was published in 2014 originally.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, there you go. We've been the largest. Ages.
No, it's definitely for ages and ages. But yes, the survey is slightly outdated. Just to sorry. I always like to research the surveys because they're one of the least reliable forms of news that we get all the time, and I hate it when people are like, "Oh, this survey says that half the people think this, but actually there's only 10 people." Yeah. So it's just you can easily gloss over the detail. Sorry, but that's my little personal.
Social scientist, and I never like to bring up the fact that I have a master's degree. Done it twice tonight. But yes, I am the unusual thing of having a BSc in politics, because nobody has a bachelor's of science in politics. But basically, because as you say that we needed it's statistics, and damned lies. But. Jem, your point stands that we just talked over.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry.
That women are the biggest demographic. If women are playing games, if older women are playing games, if all of these things, why are we still designing games that are suited to 14-year-old boys?
Yeah.
Who don't know what a woman is. Not the nice 14-year-old boys, the 14-year-old boys who have only got a bizarre, hyper-pornified view of what women are.
That is further reinforced by the art that we consume.
Exactly.
An endless cycle.
Vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Right. You ready for what I have overhyped as a very good wildcard question?
Let's go. Bring it on.
In this, as you say, this politicized environment that we're in, where, Donald Trump, incels, all these awful people have done sort of terrible things to change the landscape. I thought that a valuable question for us to examine, you're not going to like this, a valuable question I thought we should examine is, if Boris Johnson was a video game, what game would he be? I'm going to have to cut out the thing,
Larry.
That's a great question.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Jem, I've got you really quiet at the moment. So
Leisure Suit Larry.
What? I didn't hear it.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yes.
Something feckless
There was a
and
pirate one,
lazy.
wasn't there? Around
Monkey
that time?
Island.
Monkey
Yeah, when
Island.
you said Leisure Suit Larry, I was
Pirate.
literally thinking about Monkey Island. The pirate. What was he? The pirate LeChuck. No, it's the ghost pirate LeChuck was the bad guy in Monkey Island. But the ghost pirate LeChuck was actually quite clever and efficient in some ways. So I refuse to compare Boris Johnson to him.
There's a. Have you heard of a game called Heavy Rain?
Yes.
It's like this long story with lots of multiple mystery thing, lots of multiple options and everything. There's a chase scene in it. I saw a video of this where you're chasing someone on a pavement and you're having to move people out of the way. And you've got to catch them, and it's all a quick time event. So you have to press the right button. You need to wiggle the analog stick right. You need to press the right pattern. And there's a video of a guy who was purposefully doing it wrong every single time. So he'd take a step forward, and there'll be a person away, and you have to move them out of the way, and you just bump into them purposefully, and it's like 10 minutes if you just failing at every point. That's Boris Johnson.
That's just made me think of Fall Guys now. Boris Johnson.
That is our government, actually, isn't it? Our current government are the Fall Guys. Like, but we're going to keep on going.
Constantly falling off, constantly bumping into barriers, getting shoved left and right by everybody, and always ending up having to go back and start again where they were before. Yeah, I think we found.
And he's got the thing of he won't just die. There's no permadeath option with his career, because what he does is he falls off a cliff, he walks off a cliff, and then he's still the mayor of London. Comes out of university. He's been a stupid, ignorant moron for his entire life, and he's become prime minister through doing that. So why would he do anything differently? So he's just
entirely fair, Matt. He was a journalist at one point and threatened to have another journalist assaulted by ringing up a dodgy person. He's done plenty of other things in his life. Oh, and had multiple children that he won't disclose with multiple women and various affairs. And he's had a long and varied career in many ways. Alex, did we miss out anything?
I was going to say my answer would be probably someone like Cole Phelps from LA Noire, but I like Cole too much to say. But when you ask people questions as Detective Cole, it makes you look really stupid when you back out of accusing someone of a lie. So you can be like, "You're a fucking liar! You stomped her," and then you can go back and they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, got to shake all the apples out the tree," and then just go back. And then also, when you drive around, you can abandon your partner and just drive around on your own. And when you do, Cole kind of talks to himself. And when you crash into things, he's like, "It's just a scratch, nobody can see," and you just carry on. He's just like hilariously bad at everything. But it's just too funny. Oh,
I like to think of Boris Johnson as a fictional character. I feel it makes the whole world slightly more comforting at the moment.
He just made me think for some reason of Trevor from GTA 5.
Mm.
But just in his terms of the sort of he's present, but he's detached from reality as well. So he's there to experience everything, but he's just snapped in some way that just hasn't cost him anything.
Well, I think I'm going to round off the show on saying that we've essentially agreed that Fall Guys is the most appropriate metaphor for Boris Johnson, but I think there are many, and that there is no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Play a game you like, but possibly consider before you give money to the Harry Potter franchise anymore. Anyway, I didn't say that. We're not judging anybody. Right. So, I've been Caroline, you've been Matt, you've been Alex, you've been Jem. And Alex, what do people need to do? I said I'd pick on someone else occasionally.
Like, share and subscribe. And hit the notification bell, and also check us out on podcasty places for audio versions.
Absolutely.
As well.
Thank you very much. We've been gaming the system, and we'll be back soon.
Bye.